Hope you're all having a good camp, and let's just open this thing up.
Well, you've already named the starting quarterback once for us. You care to do that again for us?
Appreciate the jabs right away, man. You guys, you keep me sharp, you know. No, those guys, they're out there battling, they're out there competing, and right now the last thing we want to do is be instant evaluators, right? So we want to give everybody an opportunity to go out there and put their best football on tape, and then we'll let it play itself out.
How do you balance allowing the competition to play itself out versus allowing your starter to get more reps, more time? How do you balance?
Yeah, I think, first of all, what I talked to the offense about when we first got together was I think it's important that we all have respect because we have position battles everywhere. This is normal. It's just probably abnormal at the quarterback position, right? But we talked about respect is important, empathy is important. You have to be just. It's hard to be completely fair because there's so many different situations and periods that you work, and the target's always moving there. So you just try to be just and give them all the opportunities you can give them. And as long as we don't resort to cannibalism, I think we have a chance to get out of this pretty good because they're going to be both better players after we come out of camp and playing really good football. So we're just going to let it play itself out, and I think the worst thing you could do is probably rush to a decision, right? Just have some patience.
You when you were coming back in 2018 were kind of critical of Baker and his height and his style and his hands. Sam, I guess you were a little more high on, but what do you see out there today versus what you saw back then?
Yeah, those were my words, and that was I had 2 evaluations at that point in time. Since that time, they've both grown as men and grown as players, and they've even taken steps since, obviously Sam since the off-season program and Baker since he's been here in the last 2 weeks. It's been pretty impressive.
How much has Baker caught up, so to speak, on Sam had obviously like a 6-month head start on your scheme.
Mm-hmm.
So I know
yeah,
hard.
yeah. The thing for Baker. I'm sorry to cut you off there, but the thing for Baker is he's been in a lot of different offensive systems, going back to college and then coming through the pros, and he's bright and he really works at it, and I think that helps him. He's here very early in the morning. And I'm pretty sure he's burning the midnight oil to get caught up. He's someone that can study without necessarily having someone there sitting holding his hand. He can do it on his own and really, figure things out that way. So he's a good communicator. So that's really helped us.
Ben,
Yeah.
you mentioned 2 evaluations. What were they? Combine and a pro day? Or?
Yeah, I'd have to go back and take a look. I'm not even sure when those
I
words
guess
were
I
said.
meant, was it 2 on each of them or 1 on each? Or?
But again, I'd have to go back and take a look at that. Yeah, I'm not even sure when those comments were made.
Did you have to feel any obligation to clear the air with either of those guys?
I didn't, that any private conversations that we had, we'll keep private.
You also said that Baker can lead and they'll follow him back then.
Mm-hmm.
What are you seeing now? Is that character trait, that trait still pretty prevalent?
Yeah, when you look at Baker, I think one of his strengths is command. He can lead a room, he can command a room, and he can command an offense. He has a good presence about him, and he's got a fire in his gut. Yeah.
Ben, Matt said you guys were going to get more aggressive with Ickey's reps. What have you seen from him during training camp compared to back in the spring?
Yeah, Ickey's a young player. He's working hard to grow and learn the pro game. He's only had a little more than a handful of practices and pads at the NFL level. So we're just going to keep working him and keep growing him, and he's going to keep improving.
Both quarterbacks talked about how detail-oriented you are and hands-on. I'm assuming that's just your teaching style. But as you're evaluating these guys, what type of specific things are you looking for in them?
Yeah, you're looking for guys. I want deliberate practice. I want deep practice from these guys. I want them to push the envelope. I don't want them to be afraid to make mistakes. It's the way I believe you train the quarterback position is you teach them the way you want them to play, and then you roll the ball out there and you let them go do their thing. And I spend time in there. I'm not behind my desk. I am around the troops. That's my philosophy in that room. and I got to trust them to go out there and do the job and run the offense. And if I don't trust them, then I don't trust myself. Then I'm not doing a good enough job.
Also, Matt Corral, he hasn't gotten many snaps because of obvious reasons, but what have you seen from him so far?
Yeah, Matt is obviously slowly and quietly improving. He's taken some jumps from the off-season program. Reps are hard to come by, but that's just part of the game. But that doesn't mean that he's not improving. He is improving. He's seeing the bigger picture a lot better. We just need to continue to develop him.
You guys went to all those pro days, and you ended up landing on Matt. What about him kind of what swung the tide toward Matt Corral?
Matt, he's a guy, he has a unique skill set. He's a guy that, he's got some juice to him personality-wise. He's a tough kid. He plays hard, tough man. He plays hard. He can get the ball out of his hand quickly. He has a live body. He's one of those guys that when the ball's snapped, he has functional intelligence. He knows kind of where they'll go with the football. And I think that's something that could help him as he continues to play in this league and grows up in this league.
Live body, what's that look like?
Twitch.
Speaking of personalities, what's an example you can give us of how Sam and Baker are different? How do you think they're different?
Yeah, I don't think I want to stand up here and compare guys. I don't know that that's fair. They're just different. They're different personalities. Everybody's different. That doesn't necessarily weigh into anything. The biggest thing for me is that they're themselves, right? And if they try to be somebody else, then that's when you got to start worrying. And I don't see any of that. These guys are both comfortable in their own skin. They've both been through a lot in the college game and the pro game, and they're just out here competing. And what's refreshing is they're working together too. And that's that makes the room better. That makes everybody in the room better. That makes everybody in the offense better.
You don't sense any tenseness or awkwardness in the quarterback room as this continues on for another couple of weeks?
I can't speak of, I left my crystal ball in my other pants, but up until this point, I think that, the room, when you walked in, you didn't know if it was going to be a cold, dark room or what kind of room it was going to be in, but it's certainly not that. It's a room where these guys are open, they have conversations, and they help each other out, they encourage each other. And that's been really good to see. They've been pros. That's what you want.
When you first got here, you said this team, I believe you said, was on the cusp. Do you still believe that, and you can give us further detail?
No, I do.
Why you think that?
Yeah, I do believe that. I have a lot of confidence. You can really see the culture that we have on both sides of the ball. We're still growing it, right, on the offensive side. And, I like the room. We're going to have. I've been in this thing for close to 20 years, not 20 yet, but I've been around it for 20 years, and then we have a lot of competition on offense. And I'd have to really think, take a look and think back to when we've had more competition. But every room there's some type of competition, and I think that's really healthy for our team. And guys aren't guarded. Guys are open, and they're out there working hard. They're helping each other. They're not shying away from competition. And I think that's when you have a chance to have something pretty special.
I don't know how much you knew Matt before now, but he seems a lot more relaxed out here this year. And he's got you with head coaching experience and several other members of his staff. What have you noticed on him this training camp and this offseason?
Yeah, I think I have a ton of respect. I'm not going to evaluate my boss here in public, but I have a lot of respect for Matt. He knows exactly what he wants, and he communicates it. And as a coach, you're working for somebody. That's all you can ask for.
Ben, how do you weigh this quarterback's playing with the ones, this one's versus with the twos, this one with the threes? When you're trying to kind of get a sense of what these guys can do, how do you balance that out?
Yeah, sometimes you'll alternate it by days. Sometimes within the day you'll alternate it by periods. It's more subjective probably than it is objective. Again, it's hard to keep it as fair as human. There's only so many 2-minute drills, only so many red zone drills you can do. But we got to be just. We got to give them opportunities with the first group. We got to give them opportunities with the first group in each situation, and that's not something that we take lightly.
With Matt, though, in particular, he's out there getting a lot of 3s and 4s reps. Are there times when you've seen them and say, okay, if this was with a different group, it might look differently?
They just got to play their hand, right? Everybody's dealt a hand, and they got to show improvements. That gives him an opportunity to really show command. We don't have 4s, we have some 3s nowadays, but just give him an opportunity to go out there and show command and take over. And that's he has shown that he is ascending.
What do you like about your left tackle battle?
Say it again.
Your left tackle battle?
Yeah, well, we got a lot of guys, not just at left tackle, but inside. You know, we have a lot of guys and a lot of competition. And, you know, the challenge for us is to find the right five and, you know, see if the right five are going to stick, because you have some really good battles. You know, every guy has strengths and weaknesses, and that's not something I'm ever going to come up here and talk about. But, you know, the competition, you know, the more you compete, the better the player you're going to get.
How much of your install is done, and how much of that will you show in these preseason?
We're still kind of working through, you know, all those things. We're going to probably keep it fairly vanilla in the preseason, just because we want to evaluate players. You know, it's not necessarily about system or scheme and things like that, but, you know, you want to go out and evaluate players. You don't want them thinking too much. You just want to go out and see how they can compete and how they look versus somebody else's players. You've seen them, you know, at OTAs and training camp versus your guys. So it's good to go out and see them play against somebody else and see how that looks. And then, you know, really we're going to work through the installs, and we got a little bit more to go here. I'm not going to give out you know, everything there, but we got a little bit more to go, and just you know, and we're picking and choosing each day. So we'll have some specialty periods and things like that where we'll draw from a lot of other areas. But we're going to keep installing up until it's time to play a game.
I know you won't tell us, but do you have a date in mind that, okay, I want to have our QB1 named by this date?
I do not know.
What about the
Coach,
wide
do you-
receiver spot? Anybody sort of surprising you there now? Or?
No, I think it's a group. You know, I think it's a group that's growing. We have a lot of different guys playing a lot. You know, with the first group and the second group, so we're rolling a lot of guys in there. So we're moving guys inside and outside. It's too early for me to tell. I don't want to jump into it right now. I think, you know, probably after that New England week, we'll be able to talk a little bit more. It's a little early right now for me.
Do you make, Coach, do you make the, I know you do it in conjunction with everyone, but do y'all make the quarterback decision based mostly on what you see out here in practice, or on these, you know, couple of series and preseason games that these guys are going to get?
Yeah, everything counts. Everything's important with that position, the way everything's handled, in my mind.
Hey, Coach, you got Sharon over here.
Okay.
Hey, I know you got a couple days left before the game on Saturday, but what are you looking for on Saturday against the Commanders? What are you looking for out of this offense, particularly your quarterbacks?
Yeah, again, you know, first thing is I want to come out, I want to play a clean game, right? You want the substitutions, right? You want to show that you can come out and have clean game management. That's always important in the first preseason game. Then we want to look to, you know, at the plan to win. You know, we don't want to beat ourselves. Even though it's a preseason game, I think you want to be smart there. You don't want to come out and have a ton of penalties. Even the officials will probably be aggressive throwing flags, but we got to be smart there with our fundamentals. Nothing pre and post snap. Just evaluate guys that way, and just, you know, the biggest thing for me is just see them playing versus other people, not just our guys, and you know, evaluate that.
Ben, how do you feel about the tight end group and specifically Stephon Sullivan?
Yeah, I like the tight end group. I think we got a lot of guys who can do a lot of different things for you. And there's not much separation between them. You have guys that can play different spots. To me, when I look at a tight end, I want guys that can do more than just one thing, you know. So if a guy can play in line and then maybe at the fullback, or a guy can play in line and maybe in displaced receiver, or vice versa, you know, I think that's important, that they be able to do two things for you. And if they're not a guy that's going to be out there a ton of snaps, they obviously have to be able to contribute to special teams. So, you know, a guy's got to be able to do more than one thing for you, and we have a handful of those guys who can do that, who are showing that they can do that right now. Now, do we have finished product? No, but we're taking steps.
You mentioned the tight ends, Tommy Tremble. We hear a lot about how he's really a character out there. You got any examples of how?
Define character.
I guess a little just likes to cut up a lot.
Yeah, no, Tommy's. I'm learning Tommy's personality as we go. These guys may be a little bit guarded with me around at first, but hopefully I can get them to loosen up. I'm probably not the best guy to ask that question to.
What stood out on Icky's college tape? And Matt has talked about him still kind of getting refined as a pass blocker.
Right.
What did you see there?
Yeah, no, to me, just, you know, when the ball snapped, I think, you know, Icky can block out the sun, you know what I mean? Whether he's reaching the end or he's coming down on a 3 technique, You know, he's a big man that plays with some physicality. You know, he's you can see his intelligence on tape. He's a smart guy. He's very conscientious. But I think the finish probably stood out the most. You know, the way how passionate he was about, you know, finishing plays and taking care of his teammates was the thing that jumped off the tape the most.
Does a day like yesterday, when the offense struggles so much to move the ball in 2 minutes, I mean, do you take that with a grain of salt, or does that drive you crazy?
You think I like that? I don't like
You don't
that,
look
but
like it,
yeah, no. Yesterday was a day that you know, the defense won 2 minutes, and we come out today, and it's our turn to go today. So we just got to rebound and you know, get going.
When I think yesterday Baker had about 3 passes knocked down at the line of scrimmage. Is that just how well the defensive line was playing, or does that go back to the height concerns you might have had early in his career? Or?
That was a combination of a couple different things. Yeah, it had nothing to do with height. You know, launch point was a factor on one, movement was a factor on another. So that's something right there that doesn't have much to do with height. You know, my view on quarterbacks who aren't 6'4", you know, those guys wouldn't be here if they couldn't find a throwing lane, right? And he can get the ball out quick, so that's something that's not a huge concern of mine right now.
Part of that
This
is
will be the last
incumbent on
question.
you to create some of those throwing lanes for him, though, also. But
Well, yeah, I mean, we got to find those windows. I'm not playing up front, but we'll be fine there. I don't see that as a concern at this point. Yeah.
I think Matt said yesterday that it was amazing how much that Baker's picked up in 10 days. How would you characterize what he's done in 10 days?
Yeah, I think he's off to a pretty good start that way.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
thank you, Ben.
Thank you.